Oh, it's just like now there. Okay. Go. Thank you. I will call the Finance Committee together May 5th at 4 minutes before noon. Roll call for committee members. Clerk, can you run?
Sure. Mr. Leggett,
Here.
Mr. Thomas,
Here.
Mr. Bruno,
Here.
Mr. Merlino, Ms. Runyon, here, Mr. Diamond, Mr. Driscoll.
Here. We have a quorum. Thank you. A motion to approve the minutes of prior committee meetings. Supervisor Bruno, Supervisor Driscoll on the second. Discussion? Call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Action item. First, request for transfers of funds as attached for committee approval. I'll look over to the county administrator here for this request.
This is a request to move $77,900 out of the real property budget into the DPW budget. This is the funding that is already in real property from the environmental reserve to conduct the Mosier property remediation.
And this is connected to the duties being moved from the real property to the DPW.
That's correct.
Yes. Motion, bring that to the floor. Supervisor Bruno, thank you. A second. Supervisor Runyon, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Number 2, requests to be discussed by the county administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The 2A is the journal report of March transfers. Any questions on those? Those are in your packet. No. B, this is an amendment to the Warren County budget coming out of the ARPA committee. The most recent ARPA committee meeting approved the expenditure of $112,500 for home-based childcare enhancements. We're going to work with the Southern Adirondack Child Care Network, and this makes the appropriate budget amendment so that we can enter into that contract.
Right, that authorization for this has already been
It has.
behind
Yes.
it. Thank you. Okay. Motion to bring to the floor. Supervisor Thomas, thank you. Second by Supervisor Driscoll. Discussion. Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to note that I obviously ask for your support for this particular item and let you know that we will have an ARPA meeting on Tuesday, and I'm hoping that the county attorney can give us a further update on contracts for this money that is going to be going to outside entities. Obviously, a bunch of the ARPA money went to county departments, but we're starting now to distribute money to outside agencies, and we've got to finalize that contract language. I just wanted to let this committee know that and also ask the county attorney for more guidance on Tuesday. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
On behalf of the county attorney, he will do his best. He told me that.
And these would be the contracts coming through the appropriate department, or are these the direct out of ARPA to another entity outside of the county?
It would be for disbursements outside of the county.
Okay, thank you. See? We'll go to request to the capital project.
I don't know that did we get that voted on?
Oh, do we? I'm sorry. Call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? None? Motion carries. Thank you.
2C is a request, a late breaking request from the DPW superintendent who's here to explain.
Superintendent Hajos, you have the floor.
Good morning, everyone. That is an increased capital project, H390. Last year, we had approved, or the board had approved to give me authority to do just compensation for right-of-way acquisitions. But it was only tied to federal aid projects. The language in that amendment says it has to be tied to a project and it has to be right away that was identified. This is, and I'll refresh everybody's memory, this goes back to the County Route 2 culvert project that we had the culvert collapse. So this was not a project that I had on the radar this year. We're working through the process to get that project up and running, or working through with the designs right now, but I will need to acquire some right away. That right away is on the, I want to say the west side of the bridge towards Cameron Road, and it'll be two small parcels. I have a map here that I can pass out to everyone to take a look. They're very small amounts of right-of-way takings. One of them is 0.1 acre and the other one, I believe, is 0.03 acres. But I wanted to give a visual to everyone to see where the property we were taking. So this would move the money from D9950 into the capital project H390, which is my bridge and culvert funding. The other thing I want to state on this is that H390 capital project is typically where I put bridge and culvert money each year for maintenance. It's not for a repair such as this. So eventually, when we get through this project, we'll have to replenish that money in H390. But again, this will allow me to be able to go out and get right away from the two parcels that we need out there.
And these were appraised, went through that
These were,
process.
they've gone through an appraisal process and the maps are drawn up. The next step would be to go out and make the offers to these individuals.
Thank you. Any questions? Motion to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Runyon, second by Supervisor Thomas. And to be clear, this is County Road 2 in the town of Thurman at the intersection with Cameron Road. And the timeline on this, you're starting on this now, right?
Yeah, we're currently we're already under design for the project. They've actually gotten all the soil borings so that they can design the foundations. The box culvert is already designed. Once we get the foundation design, we'll use our heavy highway bid for the contractor to come in and construct the project. I believe, and I'm not going to guarantee it, but within the next 2.5 to 3 months, we'll have the project complete.
Thank you. Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of 2C, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Kevin had talked to me about the timeliness of this. So
Oh.
as your motion is, this would go to the May 20th. Do you want to move it
Thank-
today or?
Thank you. And there is a time factor on this, and if we took it to the board meeting immediately following finance.
So this bridge collapse or this culvert collapse in this area makes it such that the detour route is about 12.5 miles long. Supervisor Thomas reached out to me and asked if we could do anything different. And that's why we're getting this temporary easement, which would in turn put our temporary bridge in that place. This will alleviate that 12.5 mile detour. Right now, it's the only way to get out of Stony Creek and that side of Thurman area is to go all the way back down through Stony Creek and either come out through Hadley or come up through Thurman to come back around. So this would expedite it so that they don't, especially for emergency services. That's my bigger concern on this. We are actually going to try later on this week or the beginning of next week, later on this week means tomorrow, is to see if we can plate the existing road, if I can get some temporary signals so we can actually open up for a very short time being. But again, when we start construction, I have to have the temporary bridge in place to get traffic through there.
And the signals for one lane at a time.
One lane, yeah, because our temporary bridge that we have is only a single lane bridge.
So this detour is all truck traffic as well?
It's all traffic.
Yeah. Very good. So a motion to move it to the full board. Thank you by Supervisor Thomas and a second by Supervisor Runyon. Thank you. Okay. Supervisor Thomas.
Yes, we rely on Warrensburg to help us with our EMS down. So this adds another 10, 15 minutes response time. Good scenario. So your support would be appreciated.
Thank you. And we'll be able to have a resolution in time for the board meeting? For today. Thank you. So paperwork will be provided to all supervisors at the meeting. Sound good? I'll call the question then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. Item 3, request to be discussed by county treasurer. Treasurer Swan, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I like it when I can come with good news. We closed our books on time for the 10th year in a row, including the pandemic year of 2020. We were there on time. Everything looks great. We have a fund balance of approximately $34 million, which is an outstanding amount of money compared to where we were like 4 or 5 years ago. I do want to caution you to remember that we have been told that we need to have at least 2 months worth of expenses on hand to safeguard. That's about $28 million. So we're $6 million to the good right now, based on that. And, you know, somebody mentioned something earlier today about 2008. Well, I was here in 2008 when the bottom fell out of everything. And we had a total fund balance of 3.5 million. Okay. So borrowing started immediately. With $28 million in our pocket and 2 months worth of buffer, we will have time if catastrophic happens, the county will have time to make a plan to go forward. So that's the whole purpose of it. If the bottom completely falls out, we got enough money on hand to keep ourselves going, pay all the paychecks, pay all the bills for 2 months. And that will give us more than enough time to adjust and go forward from there.
Mr. Treasurer,
Yes,
just for clarification on that fund balance, that's unassigned.
Unassigned, yes.
Thank you.
yep. The other thing is sales tax is still way up, which is great. We'll ride that as long as we possibly can. I think a lot of that, well, some of that is attributable to the high gasoline prices. So as they go up, we get more money. In regards to that, depending on the experts, quote unquote, that you talk to, this inflation period could last a long time. Some of the other experts say we're in for a major crash and recession within the next few months. So I would just say, let's sit back and enjoy and reap the benefits of this good inflation right now, and then see what happens when it comes down the road.
If I could follow up with a question about that, in the event that there is a recession, that does happen within, boy, months seems quick, but you know, in a year or so, there's always market adjustments on things. Is there anything we should be taking action on at this point?
No, I think our budget process is actually working very well. The way that the revenue from the sales tax is estimated each year goes back a couple of years to look, and it's not based on the 2022 revenue. Was not based on what we got in 2021. It goes back and looks, and we do the percentages on that. And because we've been doing that, we, the budget team and our budget officers, that's how we've been able to build this unencumbered fund balance, because we're either right at the money or we're lower than what we actually receive. So I think, no, at this point, I would say we're on good financial ground. We're doing well. And the budget process is working very well. Administrator Moore and I talked about a couple of things yesterday via emails that I want to bring to the budget committee, that I think we should start looking to the future to try to offset some of those costs that we may see coming down the road. But yes, we're good.
Good, thank you.
That's it. The next item, and I'll let you introduce it, but that's where I need to have some more discussion. So.
Okay. 2 items. The treasurer made almost front page of the Sun here with all the good news. Just want to bring that up. Nice to get good reporting in the paper on those good news as well. So I don't know if the Sun makes it this far down south.
Well, it's nice that I get credit for what everybody else does.
That it comes with being an elected official, I guess.
Yeah, because I take the heat when it goes bad too.
That's right. That's right. If it goes south. According to the sales tax and gas tax is part of that. The state is put on a moratorium on their share of gas sales tax?
Yeah, my understanding is that they're going to not take 16 cents per gallon starting June 1 through the end of the year on the sales tax. There's a sales tax on the purchase price. So it's 7% on the purchase price. The part goes to the state and then we get our share,
The 3%. 3%. So at this point, the 3% is not affected
Correct,
by what the state has done.
correct. They're just taking that off of their share of the sales tax.
Any prognosis, and I'll look over, we have the superintendent here as well. Will that adversely affect funding for roads and such? Is there any?
No, I don't really think so. Because we're still going to get our share. So as the gas prices are up, we're going to continue to get more money because it's a percentage. It's not a flat fee.
And for our gas sales tax, what percentage of our revenue budget is that?
Well, I did an analysis back in 2017 and it was about 8.5% of our total take was from gas sales. I'm going to say that now that's probably closer to 8, well, maybe 9.5% with the increase we're seeing.
And that's right up there with the top 3 big hitters,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Oh, yeah. That's right up there with retail sales and accommodations.
Good. But we'd have the option of foregoing that if we wanted.
That's the will of the board.
Is that any interest of the board? Hearing none. We won't move on then. Okay.
All right.
What's next?
Item B is I'm requesting that the county investment policy be increased to authorize the place of overnight investments with any one institution from $1 million to $25 million. And the reason I'm asking for this is you'll have to bear with me. This is going to be kind of a longer explanation, but over the last couple of years, many corporations and companies and investment people have come to this to me in the county and said, we can take money, we can invest your money and we can make more money for you than you can in the bank. Well, Glens Falls National Bank, who is basically who we use for all of our transactions, said, we don't really want to lose your money. So let's work on something. So they've come up with a plan basically that allows us to take money from various places and get credit for it to invest in treasury bonds and in a few other guaranteed sources to get more revenue for the county. And what makes this unique is, and I guess I got to explain, we have a lot of accounts and we have a lot of money moving through the county, but it doesn't stay in one place very long. Like if we get money from the state for Department of Social Services, it'll come into one account and it gets moved out within a day or 2, maybe 3, because we've either already fronted the money and we're paying ourselves back, or it's going out to programs that need to be paid immediately. The same with, we have multiple accounts like that in all of the divisions of the county. So it's very hard to get an interest rate on money that you're only holding for a few days. Most banks say, okay, it's got to be in an account for at least a month, 30 days before they're going to give us any interest on it. Boiling it down, Glens Falls National has come up with a program where we can get a floating average of how much money we have in accounts on a daily basis. And we can use that floating average to take that money and invest in short-term returns with treasury bonds and so forth. That's boiling down a seminar that I sat through for 5 days almost, but that's the gist of it. So in order for that to work, I have to increase the amount of money that we can have overnight in an investment in one institution from $1 million to $25 million, because we're going to be floating between $18 and $22 million a month through this program, minimum. There will be times when it's more. The good part about this is that even if we are tying up our money, we can get it back the next day. So we're not, And I ran this through the county attorney's office to make sure that we were on legal ground with all of the requirements that are set forth by the state and the controller's office. And we're good to go as far as that goes. So in this, and just to give you an idea, rough estimate right now, before anything else happens, this is going to increase $250,000 to $300,000, the amount of money that we can get on our money.
Or the interest on
On
the
our-
money.
yeah.
Yes, that was going to be my next question on that with the substantial amount. And also we're moving into a new day and age from record low interest rates to now where we're talking about money, aren't we?
I mean, last year, just to give you an idea, last year, I think it was right around $200,000 we were able to make on interest in some of the money market accounts and so forth that we were using. So this is going to double, more than double what we received.
And again, with all the money that we have invested in Glens Falls National, they are as competitive as any of these other vendors that perhaps some of the towns use. And I referred a fellow that I met at the conference to you as well. And
Yeah, actually, I think we're doing a little better.
Yep.
But the main reason is because you got to look at it, we're moving $160 million a year through this bank. Okay, that gives us a lot of pull, and that gives us a lot of leeway to work with.
motion to bring this to the floor then. For the increase from 1 million to 25 million. Supervisor Diamond on the first, Supervisor Thomas on the second. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? None? Motion carries.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mike. We will now go on to item number 4, referrals from County Facilities Committee chaired by Supervisor Bruno. The first one is a request to authorize closure of capital project H389 Airport Snow Removal Equipment Building and return funds in the amount of $127.57 to the budget code 9950 transfers to capital projects. Motion to bring to the floor. Supervisor Bruno, second by Supervisor Diamond. Discussion. If you haven't had a chance to go see the snow equipment removal building, I went over last week, had a nice tour with Robin. Beautiful building there. And when I'm looking at what the town of Chester might need to spend on a highway garage of similar size, I think we got a pretty good deal on it as well. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? None. Motion carries. 4B, Buildings and Grounds, request to authorize closure of capital project H263, which is the design and construction of the Human Services Building, and return funds remaining in the amount of $11,030.56 to budget code V5031. Bring it to the floor. Supervisor Driscoll, second Supervisor Thomas. And it's just a quick explanation. I think I missed that part of the meeting. This is left, the building's been done for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, I'll let. You'll speak, but there were some things that. This, you're correct. This is from the Human Services Building. This is an older project. This was one that was just referred to us from the treasurer's office to ask us to close this project. I started here in 2008 and that building was just about constructed at that point. I never had any association with this project, but when Deputy Treasurer Lynch asked us to close the project and move the money back to the fund source, which is, it was bonded money, I believe, that we're just putting it back to the fund source.
Yeah, and that's the item code V is a bond. What is that? A debt?
Yeah, I believe that's for their
Debt
bond.
service fund.
Yep. Okay, good. And then once it goes back in there, what happens to it?
Goes towards debt.
Thank you. Okay. Yep. Good. Did we get a motion a second on that? Okay, we'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? None. Motion carries. We'll go to item 5, referrals from Criminal Justice and Public Safety chaired by Supervisor Gerasi. First is a request to write off unpaid claim from 2018 with the New York Governor's Traffic Safety Committee for the amount of $50, which was part of a resolution of 2019. Motion to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Runyon, second by Supervisor Driscoll. Discussion on this? This is just to clean up, is it? Okay, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. 5B, request to amend Warren County budget in the amount of $81,943 to establish revenue and expense codes for New York State Sheriff's Association COVID-19 detection and mitigation grant. So this is to establish a revenue and expense codes. Motion to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Bruno, second Supervisor Diamond. Discussion. So. And the revenue, this is money that they have received.
I'm not sure whether they have received it or they will receive it.
Okay. No discussion? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries for 5B. Go on to item 6, referral from Health Services Committee chaired by Supervisor Frazier. First is mental health. 6A, request to amend the budget in the amount of $138,750 to allow the pass-through of 100% state funding from New York State Office of Mental Health for operation and further development of the Adirondack Veterans Peer-to-Peer Program. Motion to bring to the floor. Supervisor Driscoll, Supervisor Molino on the second. Discussion. And this is for contract then with SUNY Adirondack to carry out the program. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? None. Motion carries for 5A. Go to 5B. This is from Public Health. Request to authorize an adjustment for the 2009 through 16 preschool program in the amount of $57,368.85. Motion to bring it to the floor, please. Supervisor Runyon, a second. Supervisor Diamond, thank you. Discussion. And once again, this is just cleaning up the accounts. Okay. If there's no discussion, we'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. C, request to amend the Warren County budget in the amount of $211,843 to reflect the total additional allocation for the ELC schools grant contract. Motion to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Runyon, second by Supervisor Thomas. Thank you. Discussion? So this is, again, I wasn't in that committee meeting. These are additional funds for an existing program that we have received.
That's right.
This is to accept it, and it's being appropriated as described here in resolution request form number 7, correct? Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. We are now on to item 7, which is referral from the Human Services Committee chaired by Supervisor Driscoll. This is from the Department of Social Services, and it's a request to amend the county budget in the total amount of $20,000 to increase both the revenue and expense accounts to reflect receipt of a gift from the Children's Committee of Warren County. A motion to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Thomas, Supervisor Runyon on second. Discussion. Recognizing none from the committee, Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Chairman. Can you ELC on that last one?
Oh. Early learning.
No, ELC,
All right, thank you. I was trying to find what the abbreviation was.
Yeah. So, and this is for accepting the children's commit of $20,000 from the Children's Committee Fund. And this will help fund a person for the part-time. Yes, thank you, Supervisor
Part-time
Driscoll.
position, I might have confused members at the previous meeting. It's going to be a part-time position, not to exceed $20,000. But for the budget, it is written in as a full-time position at 37 and change, in the event that down the road there's a need to create a full-time position. But at this point, it's going to continue to be a part-time position funded at no more than $20,000.
And this is for a Tuesday and Thursday position, I believe, to fill in for somebody that's already in on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So it's to cover that gap. Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Supervisor Runyon?
If this is a gift from the Children's Committee, why is the revenue code interest and earnings? And not some other type like a gift and donation code?
Revenue code, interest and earnings on a TE 6010. That's what you're asking there?
Yep.
Yeah, I'll look over at the county administrator here, see, or the county treasurer's here as well, if he has anything, why this would come out of interest and earnings and perhaps not gift and donations.
That's where the money needs to come out of to pay. So, but I don't know if there's gifts, revenue item in ESS.
For it to go into? Okay, so they might be using it as a general earnings code.
Yes.
Okay. And the TE code is what? Not- Is that like a trust?
I'm not sure.
Trust and agency? Okay, very good. We do have the motion on the floor, first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. On to item 8, which is a referral from the Occupancy Tax Coordination Committee chaired by Supervisor Dickinson. And this is a request to appropriate $474,000 from the occupancy tax reserves to budget code 6417, other payments contributions. And this is to pay the final distribution of the 2021 occupancy tax collections to the towns, the village of Lake George, and the city of Glens Falls. And there's a note on this one too. It is administratively recommended action resulting from the Finance Committee to go before the board at their May 5th meeting. So resolution, if we could include that we pass this on to the board at this time. Supervisor Merlino makes a motion. Is there a second? Supervisor Thomas. And this was per schedule that was handed out at the OCTAX with all the various distributions of the monies, correct? No further discussion? We'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I must say, related to that motion was part of also in the Sun article too, where it was described on the increase in OCTAX. A lot of it driven by our short-term rentals, which for the town of Chester bumped it up double the amount of our percentage here. Okay, we'll go on to item 9. We have a bunch here. This is referrals from the Public Works Committee chaired by Supervisor Conover. The first is to request an increase to capital project H381, which is the South Johnsburg Road over Mill Creek Bridge replacement in the town of Johnsburg in the amount of, I don't know, $831,393. So motion bring to the floor. Thank you, Supervisor Thomas, second by Supervisor Runyon. I was just looking to see if we could add any others, B and C, or should we take these all separately? at least be, oh, we'll take it here as they 31. Any discussion on this? The Superintendent Hajos, out of this, there's a 5% local share of $38,000. The rest of the money, is that reimbursed? We front it and it comes back then when we submit?
Yeah, this is one of our federal aid projects, and it's funded 80, 15, and 5, 80 being the federal share, 15 being the state share, and then 5% is our local match. As you'll see, we're transferring money from D9950, which we have in the budget for our local match. And yes, we do front the money and then we're reimbursed by Federal Highway and DOT.
And we have done previous resolutions that allow for that upfront funding.
That's correct. We have.
Very good. So we have a first and a second on this one. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. We'll go on to item B. This also is a request to increase capital project 396, which is the East River Drive and Call Street pavement rehab in the town of Lake Luzerne in the amount of $460,818. Motion to bring to the floor. Supervisor Thomas, Supervisor Driscoll on a second. Superintendent Hajos, this is a like item to the previous, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? None? Motion carries. We'll go to 9C, which is request to authorize closure of capital project H351, which is the bridge over Hudson River Bridge painting project in the town of Lake Luzerne. And this will return the remaining funds in the amount of $2.70 to budget code D9950-910. Supervisor Moreno. He's going to pull that out of his pocket and give it to Kevin. No, Supervisor Thomas. Boy, that was some tight budgeting you did there, Kevin. $2.70.
Yes.
But call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. We're on to D, 9D, request increase of capital project H401, which is the Sagamore Road retaining wall in the town of Bolton in the amount of $17,500. Motion to bring floor, Supervisor Bruno, second by Supervisor Runyon. Discussion. And as it says down the bottom, this is to fund the additional design and right-of-way acquisition services. As we're familiar, we needed some more work done on this, so we would not close the access road to Sagamore. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So we have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to 9E. And F goes along with this as well. This is a request to establish capital project H415, which is the 2022 bonded road projects in the amount of $6,200,000. And then request F here is to amend the county budget in the amount of the same $6,200,000 to amend and reduce various county road budgets funded with the $6,200,000 in serial bond funds. Can we carry these two together? Okay. Supervisor Bruno, Supervisor Molino, discussion. Just for education here, if we look at the first one is creating the capital project. No problem there. The next one is how this is all accounted for. So this would be on the F. On item F, we had already appropriated money and now we're backing that out and filling it in. How does this work?
Want to talk to that? You want to-
All right, this is basically something my office is pushing. And basically, to boil it all down real quick, it's so that we can keep track of the money better.
Okay,
All right, and Kevin was gracious enough to work with us on this. And it basically is just so that we can keep track of the money better. We know where it's going and when we report it. We have, because we have to audit and report all of this, where the money goes. So this is just basically in-house stuff for us to make sure that everything is accounted for.
So, and this all adds up to 6,200,000.
Yes,
And that's all under one capital project, H415. And then these would be all sub under that.
yes.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And the only other thing I can add is I do believe Don even put it out this morning that we've already started work and will be continuing to do work on the county funded projects. They've already actually started up in Chestertown,
Church Street,
Third Street,
and then Water Tub Road too, I
and
see.
Water and Tub after we get the last, a couple pipes in.
Okay. Yeah. And though, just a quick aside, and those are your regular road maintenance projects that.
These are the county run funded road projects for this year.
Yeah, but those that you just mentioned are not part of a larger capital
No, they are not.
project. Thank you. Okay. Any further discussion on items 9, E, and F? That's what we'll be voting on. Hearing none, we'll call the question for 9s, E, and F. All those in favor say aye. And opposed? Motion carries. The next two, G and H, would be to appropriate funds in the amount of $10,000 from the Environmental Testing Reserve to the DPW budget to fund the asbestos project monitoring fees and on the town of Johnsburg parcel. This is the Mosier Garage, correct? To completed by Atlantic Testing. And H is to appropriate funds in the amount of $22,100 from the Environmental Testing Reserve, 893, to the DPW to fund unknown or unforeseen conditions that may arise during construction regarding the town of Johnsburg map, so-called Mosier's Garage. Those things go together, correct? So can we bring G and H to the floor, 9G and H? Thank you, Supervisor Bruno, second by Supervisor Runyon. Thank you. Discussion? These will cover the cost. Supervisor McGowan?
Yes, thank you. Wow. A lot of money just to air monitor, $10,000.
It's Supervisor Leggett.
Oh, please, go ahead, Superintendent.
It's not just to fund air monitoring, it's to test any material that they may be suspect when they're doing the work. There's also project monitoring in there. It's not just air monitoring. They're gonna make sure that everything that's listed in there that needs to be abated is abated.
The original contract,
Atlantic testing.
the original contract was 6,600, I believe, right?
The original contract was $6,600. When I reached out to Atlantic, because there was a note, I believe, from Real Properties Director regarding a generator that may be needed. I reached back out to Atlantic Testing and they came back with an estimate for their LOA of about $7,500 with the generator. I had asked that committee to, no different than the construction project, if there's an unforeseen condition that I come across or they come across, that we have the time in there. The contractor is currently submitting a variance to DOL to treat some of the material as all hazardous material and to demo the entire thing. If that's the case, Atlantic's time would be for the full 30 days there as opposed to the 10 days that they have listed on there. So it could conceivably come to a lot more money.
Thank you.
Any further discussions on 9G and H? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor of 9G and H, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? None. Motion carries. On to item 10, this is coming out of the Finance Committee. And referrals from Criminal Justice, Public Safety, chaired by Supervisor Gerasi. And this was from the Public Defender's Office. So 3B from those actions was request to amend the table of organization and salary schedule to fill the position of public defender at an annual salary of $128,450 effective May 9, 2022. Motion to bring it to the floor. And we will also for whoever moves this, to also add on that it go to the full board for consideration at today's meeting. So Supervisor Runyon, Supervisor Driscoll on the second. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, we'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, from Criminal Justice, 3C, request to amend the table of organization and salary schedule to decrease the salary of the 9th Assistant Public Defender from $74,089 to $71,988 effective May 23, 2022. Motion to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Merlino, second by Supervisor Runyon. Discussion. Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll go on to 10 subsection 4, referrals from Human Services Committee, chaired by Supervisor Driscoll. This was from the Department of Social Services. And it's a request to amend the table of organization and salary schedule to create and fill the new position of community service worker, part-time, grade 8, base salary, $37,918, effective May 23, 2022. Motion to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Driscoll, second by Supervisor Thomas. As we discussed, this was related to the $20,000 gift to fund person part-time for what would be less than the annual salary listed here. We all clear on that one? Okay, we have first and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor of 10-4, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then we had some that came from personnel. And let's, my abbreviated notes. This would be for the county attorney assistant county attorney number 3. So this is for creating and fill the position. That's what CNF stands for. There we go. Create and fill county attorney assistant number 3. Motion to bring that to the floor. Supervisor Runyon, second by Supervisor Thomas. And the details on this.
It's an additional funding request from the general fund balance of $17,878.
$17,878 from general fund is needed to fill this position okay.
And the total annual base salary for the position is $65,295.
Okay. Did everybody hear that? The total base salary, $65,295. Okay. Yes, Supervisor Bruno?
So this is as discussed previously,
Yes.
basically doing abstract title, that sort of thing.
Yeah, we're going to roll the tax coordinator's position into an additional entry-level assistant county attorney position, and the difference in salary would be an increase of $17,878. So I don't know if we need to also remove the tax coordinator's position. I defer to the county administrator, as budgeting is not my area.
Yes, we would create the 3rd assistant county attorney and delete the tax coordinator.
As of June 1st, 2022.
Should that be part of the resolution then to
Yes.
delete tax coordinator? Or is the mover and the second fine with that?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So that will also include, so this is a referral from personnel and us ratifying that to pass then on to the full board at today's meeting. It won't be today. Okay, we've got some time. May 20th.
Yep.
Yes. Yes, Supervisor Bruno.
Could we have a job description with this when it comes to the full board?
Yes, I think there was one in today's packet and the
The
little one that only had 2 pages. Now flip on the,
Keep flipping. Keep flipping. It's on the back of the.
Yes.
Assistant accounting
Well,
attorney.
this is the This is the advertisement for the position.
Okay.
Right?
Well-
We don't have our standard. um, Just for the full board meeting.
It's my understanding from the personnel officer that there is no job description required for an assistant county attorney because the duties and responsibilities are statutorily provided for by the county attorney. I was told that yesterday, and I can double check it, but that's why I provided the advertisement information so that it would be clear for what the notification is going to read as far as what the intent is for the position. And
Rest of the board's fine.
I'll call the question on referral from Personnel Committee for the creating and filling of the Third County Attorney Assistant for an annual salary of $65,295 and the budget adjustments for $17,878. Any further discussion? Yeah, Supervisor Diamond. Yep.
Chairman, I just want to be clear from the county attorney that the personnel committee said there's no job description required for this position.
I don't believe the issue was brought up or addressed at the committee.
When we go ahead at the full board meeting and approve positions, we generally like to see a job description upon approval. I would ask that we do that going forward, even if that's the policy needs to be modified. Many of us like to sit there and look at a job description and be able to put a value to the job. Just tell us here that we're not required to have a job description. I have a hard time even supporting this vote today.
Yeah, I don't take any position on it. If the committee wants it, I don't have an issue with it.
I'd like to see here from the rest of the board members, do you want to require a job description going forward? Not only in committees, but to the full board, when we look at a job, we know what the job responsibilities, what the entitlement is, and have a comparison.
Yeah, Supervisor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brought this
Thank
up
you.
last year, and I sit here on numerous occasions, looking at these positions. All totals a lot of money, and I'm supposed to approve it based on what? I want to know what the individual's duties are, to see what that salary is compared to their duties. Is it justifiable? I don't think that's an unreasonable request. So I would want a job description with each and every position that is requested. Thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Thomas?
Well, I would say the advertisement, if that's what you want to call it, is Assistant County Attorney number 3, Warren County. On the back of this personnel addendum, might not be technically a job description. It certainly seems to describe what the person would be responsible for and what they have to do to get the job.
And that should be so stated and attached to the request.
And if I could,
It was.
I don't have, this is my first time through
The board, when the Board of Supervisors meets to approve or disapprove this, it should have a job description attached to it.
We can do two things here, but I'll let the attorney speak.
my first time through it, so my apologies. Number two, it makes no difference to me what the board wants or doesn't want from the county. I don't take any position on it, so.
For today, County Attorney, could a job description be created and submitted with the resolution packet for the May 20th meeting?
Yeah, it would read just like the posting that's attached.
Good. And then, yes, go ahead, Supervisor. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I know that there's not a template that finance directors use throughout the different departments in Warren County. Is there a, excuse me, is there a template to job descriptions, essentially universal job description that that departments are supposed to use, or can they just kind of use their own job descriptions?
Well, I'll look over to the county administrator. I know civil service is quite involved with all of that, and there is some uniformity.
As civil service goes through and updates job descriptions, they put them in the same format.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. So for this motion before us, and formally, we will have that later for another meeting, but what's before us is the creating and fill of the county attorney assistant number 3. I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. How about if we refer to personnel for a new policy to require job descriptions for all requests? Shall we move? Yep.
Done that last year.
I would say that the reason that this is not in the finance packet is because this was an addendum to the finance agenda. So it didn't make it into the packet, and that's why the description's not there. I'm sure when the full board meeting takes place, there'll be this description will be there.
Okay. We could make a referral if we want, or perhaps personnel has heard us and we can have them look into a new policy. What's the committee's pleasure? Okay, we'll move on then. We also have coming out of personnel, the first public defender salary increase. Is that correct? First assistant PD. And that is, if we look at our personnel packet. Which one was that? So 3. Bump. Is it?
Actually, your budget.
It came from budget. Okay, excuse me. Came out of budget committee. And that was a referral from April 25th, Criminal Justice Public Safety Committee, and request to increase the salary for the first assistant public defender from $97,310 to $102,035. Motion to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Runyon, second by Supervisor Thomas. Discussion. No. Supervisor Bramer.
Thanks. I'm only making this note because it was mentioned that this was coming out of budget, but it was actually a referral just a minute ago, well, hour ago, from personnel, where we talked about that this was the correct process, oversight committee, personnel and finance. And the budget really didn't need to be involved in that process, although it was in this particular instance.
Thank you for bringing that up, Supervisor Bramer. There, right, has been through a process, and did personnel specifically address this today? Okay, so it did go to personnel. Personnel did approve it and referred it to our committee to finance. So that's where we are now. What's the pleasure of the committee? Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Opposed.
2 opposed, 3 opposed. Yeah, I would vote in favor, so it's 4-3. Motion carries. And this will now go where? Today? Tomorrow? This will go on May 20th. So this will be before the full board at May 20. Thank you. We have one more referral from the budget. This is to record a $300,000 appropriation from fund balance to the mental health budget for the court-ordered CPL 730 expenses. Motion to bring to the floor. Supervisor Morlino, thank you. A second. Supervisor Diamond, discussion. And from the earlier meeting today, this was just to make sure that there was enough funds in this account, which has wide swings in its needs. So, and hopefully we will not have to use all of that. Is that correct? That this is,
Hopefully.
okay. Any discussion? Supervisor Diamond?
This particular issue?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yep. Okay, then I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any other items from personnel budget or, no, okay, so that's it for all of our resolutions. There's no pending items and privilege of the floor and public comment. Supervisor Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just looking at under the social services title here, we got multiple positions that are either resignations, terminations, or lateral transfer. Are we sitting down closely with the department and staff to find out why issues are occurring? Is it a money issue, personnel issue, work environment? I mean, I find it interesting that we have so many resignations, knowing that we made a serious investment into these people at the beginning of their hire, and would bring them along up to speed and they're leaving. I was wondering if during the exit interviews, we're able to get some detailed information on why we're losing people in 1 month time. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 resignations. I don't know if that's unusually high or is that average, but I'd like to find out more reasons why. You know,
Bring up a good point. Chairman Garrity?
I saw that too, Supervisor Diamond. I called over there and got an explanation for each one of the people who left. So that's what I did. And they seem to be reasonable to me, but that's, I called the director.
would it make sense to have someone probably from not the finance committee, but the personnel committee sit in along with the department and human resources to have that information, share with someone from that particular committee why people are leaving? I think a lot of times individuals are reluctant to state on the record why or why not they may be leaving, or a lateral transfer. Or it could be another reason to be transferring out of the department. I just like to know that.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Driscoll?
Thank you, Chairman, and I'm not denying that this isn't cause for concern, but as I pointed out earlier in these meetings, the Department of Social Services is a different animal than DPW, the Sheriff's Department, some of the other larger departments. It's not just internal work that they're doing, interacting with their colleagues. Some of the verbal abuse, emotional abuse that they receive from some of the customers that they serve really gets to you. I mean, I've had a career in health and human services, and I've had people say things to me that would just knock you off your seats. It's a different department. When you're dealing with child abuse issues, when you're dealing with adult abuse issues, that really rips into your soul. And it's not just about doing what's on your job description. A lot of the stuff that they're dealing with is personal issues. They're taking home what they saw at a house with child abuse or adult abuse or that type of stuff. They're bringing that home with them, and it becomes a 24-hour job. And I'm not saying that there couldn't be issues, and certainly I would Supervisor Diamond that, yeah, let's take a look at it. But I can tell you from experience, some of the situations that they encounter on a daily basis, you just thank God that you're not doing those jobs yourself. So.
Right. One
Just one
second.
more comment. I would
Okay.
expect that would come out in the exit interview anyways, if that's the case on a lot of these people. Resign.
And to further your point, if that is the case, is there something the county can do to help and assist with mental health of our employees and their ability to deal with these job-related stresses? Yeah. Supervisor Sieber?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I think we all know that this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I agree with the supervisors from Glens Falls, but I want to point out during the discussion earlier, I did inquire with our HR director and copied, of course, our personnel chairman on that correspondence. My concern is that in 2017, we developed a form and a policy. I'm not sure where that's reflected within all of our procedures here at the county. But what you just heard described by the two supervisors from Glens Falls is exactly why we developed that form. It was supposed to pick up the trends, was supposed to look at where can we better assess and then respond, particularly to employees who are under high stress, who perhaps looking at different types of comp time or different types of flex time, or is there a salary range that we're just not seeing? What are those problems? And we started that because we lost so many social service workers to Albany, where now the salaries aren't even remotely comparable to what we're offering here. But the stress is certainly one of those issues. So 2017, we all sat here and acknowledged it was a problem, but yet this week we've heard a lot about exit interviews. And we do have a form that I don't understand. I'm struggling to not understand why we as supervisors are not seeing copies of that. While we offer exit interviews to employees and we tell them, please feel free to ask for an exit interview with the chair or the chair of your department or the county administrator. But yet we heard here today that that information is only being conveyed back to the department head. I've raised my concerns with the county administrator, and I continue to raise my concerns with this board that we are the checks and balances. We are accountable to the people, and we should have a good understanding of why our employees are leaving and for what various reasons. And that should be provided to us. I think our taxpayers would be very upset to hear that those are documents that we aren't looking at. I've asked to be provided them. I'm not getting them. Last year, I did conduct an exit interview myself because an employee asked for it to be with the chair. The then personnel officer conducted many exit interviews, and common denominators were found. So we do have a procedure. I hope that we can amend this form and supplement it in other ways. But would you, I'm hoping someone's going to leave this on an agenda to address in the near future, so we aren't sitting here however many years now, 5 years later, and still talking about the same problems. It's our responsibility to address it, particularly in light of it being Mental Health Awareness Month. Thank you.
Thanks, Supervisor Sieber. Would you see that the personnel is the committee for that to come from? As we sit here in finance, so. I think words have been heard. We can move forward. Okay. And thank you. Supervisor McGowan?
So, thank you. Was that assigned?
Well, this is where we are finance committee right now. So, but many personnel committee members are here as well. It seems like it's a personnel committee item. Who all is on personnel committee that sits on this? We have two right here. Can that be carried forward? Do we need a resolution coming out of finance?
I don't think so, because it was discussed at personnel quite extensively, and I think our HR director and our administrator and everyone else, heard what we would like to see done. It's pretty much what we just said.
Okay, thank you for carrying that on. County administrator?
And Jackie started on this already. There's an email 10:30 this morning to Supervisor Sieber, Thomas, Garrity, Larry, Amanda, myself, I'll read it. The form that was developed in 2017 or that existed in 2017 is still being used. What Jackie's proposed during her committee is to create a survey type form to have departing employees answer questions, perhaps on a rating scale, as opposed to the open-ended questions that Jackie asks now, so that we can get feedback that's easier to compile, to provide feedback to the Board of Supervisors and department heads. For example, where you provided all the resources you need to do your job. The employee could rate on a scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree. They could also provide specific details that apply to their department or position. And Jackie would ask them to complete the form when their interview is scheduled, and not everybody wants an interview. And then we could review the completed form when we meet. And if people decline the exit interview, maybe they're still willing to complete a paper form. So that's what our HR director has proposed. I think it makes sense. And if we want to tweak it, we can do that.
So action's already being
Yes.
moving in that direction. Thank you. Supervisor Bramer, then Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Chairman. I know this kind of topic came up this morning, and I want to say as personnel chair last year, I did talk to the IT director about creating an anonymous form so that people, when they were leaving, could submit comments about their experiences without feeling like, they were putting their name to something or having to meet with Jackie. We also did make it available for people who wanted to either not meet with Jackie, maybe they wanted to meet with a supervisor. I met with someone for their exit interview, just the one time. I think most people are probably don't feel like meeting with supervisors, but I think we need to have a more robust process. There is a form, as Ryan just read, that has been in use since 2017, and supervisors should be able to access those so that we understand what the issues are, not just the department heads or supervisors within the department, but us as supervisors, the decision makers, the elected people here. We're still a board of supervisors, as much as I think maybe a different form would be more appropriate and more efficient. We are still the elected to actually run this county. So we need to be able to see those forms as they're filled out by Jackie and by the employees. And if we create a new form going forward, that's great. In any case, I think the finance committee should make a referral over to personnel to handle this in a more official way, that we're going to look at the forms, make sure we know what's being put out there, what's available to our employees as they're exiting. Thank you.
Thank you. County Administrator and then Supervisor McGowan.
The form that we're talking about, there's two check boxes. One says I elect to opt for and schedule an exit interview. The other says I waive an exit interview. There's a place for the employee to put their name and their last workday and their signature, and their supervisor signs it. That's the information that's on that form. Jackie's proposing creating something different that will give the board more useful information, because this form does not speak to why they left.
And in those exit interviews, she has a particular format she goes through.
Jackie asks questions and she takes notes that she can then use to address with the department head and with me if it's something I need to know about.
I do think that what Supervisor Diamond brought up, this would help in our data-driven decision-making on things if we can spot any particular trends that come out of these reviews. And would each committee take up their own resignations and retirements, exit interviews, or would it be all under the heading of, say, personnel? Something to consider. So Supervisor McGowan, you've been waiting.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree full-heartedly with Supervisor Kramer. I did bring it up in personnel, and I really like what Jackie, I think, is presenting, something a little softer where they don't really have to point the finger. They can give a little slide, because we can pretty much figure it out, especially with what Supervisor Driscoll said. That is a very difficult and stress-related department, and there's a lot of emotions over there, and it becomes 24/7, because some of that stuff you just can't get out of your mind. So, but I'd really like to help that department, because that is a huge department, and it's something that our county constituents really need. So But I agree with everybody. I just was knowing, my question was not knowing any of the exit stuff. But if we could soften it where we get more people that, you know, unfortunately, when anonymous, you know, it's kind of hard to, you know, some people can take advantage of that and not give us what we really need.
Yeah.
Or exaggerate upon out of anger, but, you know, and so on and so on. So thank you.
I'm thinking within the purview of the finance committee of what our obligations, duties, rights and responsibilities are of moving this subject forward to another committee of which some of us are all parts of. What's the committee's pleasure at this point? I think we can pass something on to another committee, or we can, we have acknowledgement from the personnel committee that they've heard these words and they pick that up. Is there something specific from the finance committee of where this would help us do our job as a finance committee to do something better in these, along these lines of exit reviews? Supervisor Bruno?
I agree with most everything that's been said, but I don't think it belongs to the finance committee. I think that either personnel or some other more appropriate committee should look at this and help develop a better form, what have you. That, as has been stated, the people are more likely to participate in. I know myself, if I was sitting here, you know, had to critique people, I'm not sure I want my signature on it. Not that I can't take the criticism in reverse, whatever, but I just think that it would be better if it was more anonymous. And sometimes it's hard for people to relate when you're asking them to write down a statement. You know, how did you feel about Craig Leggett? Was he okay or this or that? But seriously, if you have though that type of question where you rate on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, whatever, I think people are more apt to participate in that. So maybe giving that to, again, I don't know, whether personnel or human services, where it goes, but I don't think it belongs in finance.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Driscoll?
I would agree with Mr. Bruno. It doesn't belong in finances. But the reality is that a lot of the individuals who are employed in departments like Department of Social Services, or for private not-for-profits like I'm employed by, have left for greener pastures at some of our much larger not-for-profits, including Glens Falls Hospital, Hudson Headwaters Health Network, and Adirondack Health Institute. Community Workshop Incorporated, I believe, is in the top 5 employers in Lorain County. So these organizations also are taking individuals away from some of the smaller not-for-profits. And I know from experience in speaking with Chris, within the last couple of years, we've lost some employees from social services to these entities, which can offer more money or better packages, including a lot of them over the last couple of years, a lot of remote employment opportunities, which at least for millennials is a very attractive benefit.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a board meeting coming up. And I see,
Just one more
and
comment.
I'll take
Maybe
one
we
more
can
comment.
forward this on to the personnel committee to come up with and develop a scale similar to what Supervisor Bruno was talking about, which would be a generic scale that could be used throughout the entire county, not just human resource, or not just, and then forward that on the results of these exit meetings to the personnel committee along with the budget committee, because after all, the budget committee would be reviewing a lot of the salaries and adjustments to the budget.
Right, is this anything that would come back to the finance? What I'm concerned about is that if we push something out, it's something that within our realm, we'd want it to come back to us for some form or something. Do you have any wording, Supervisor Diamond?
At this point, I'm more than happy to put something together.
Okay, we'll take it up at a later date. Mr. Lehman, any public comment?
Hi, Chairman Leggett. No, there's no comment on YouTube.
Okay, Supervisor Sieber, I see you have something to say.
Thank you for the opportunity to be heard during privilege of the floor. I do just want to address this brief issue regarding an exit interview that is relevant to the Finance Committee, particularly because it does cost us a lot of money to hire and then to train, and then we see people leave.
Yes.
But there is in fact a form. So I'm really having trouble with our board being told that we don't have a form that we ask employees when they leave. I'm looking at it, and one of the questions say, number 10, what advice would you give to your department, to the Board of Supervisors? I've recently asked for copies of these exit interview forms. They are summarized. I was told they're confidential. I could not have them. I'm a member of this board. You are all members. This question asks specifically, what advice would you like to give to the Board of Supervisors? I think it's a fair request to make a referral to personnel to please ask that the policy be corrected, notify the employee that we would be sharing the information with the board in an effort to complete not only our fiduciary responsibilities, but our responsibilities to the public.
Thank you, Ms. Sieber. I do think that's under the purview of personnel and not finance.
Again, correcting information that was previously said during your meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay. Yes.
That's not a form that's filled out by the employee who's departing. That's a form that the HR director uses to guide the conversation, and she takes shorthand notes on it.
Thank you. Entertain motion to adjourn. Supervisor Bruno, Supervisor Runyon on second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. See you all in a few minutes.